Okay, I got one more that I want to do. Have you ever been lost, like while you're driving? I have a lot of driving metaphors. I live in a big ass state. Can I say that on? I can say that online. I live in a big ass state and there's lots of roads. So I drive a lot. Getting lost is a part of learning a new area. And one of my favorite things that my mom used to do growing up when we would move somewhere is she would intentionally get lost. This helped her figure out, before Google Maps and all that, is it helped her figure out what the connecting roads were, where the back roads were. So she'd always end up learning an alternative route to get somewhere. And even to this day, no matter where we are, if it's an area she's familiar with, well, I guess that's not no matter where we are, but you get what I'm saying. If it's an area she's familiar with and she knows the road, she will always show me a new way to get somewhere. And I've noticed when I'm driving, some people want to sit in traffic, and that's totally fine. I find it rage inducing. I would rather take the scenic route that might be add on like 5 or 10 minutes to the overall drive versus had I just like waited in traffic. But I always see something new because of it, and I end up enjoying the drive a lot more. So let's talk about it. When we embark in something new, and we've talked about kind of like letting things fall apart, picking up the pieces to see our self-agency, moving forward with an internal validation instead of seeking external validation. And then, of course, knowing when we have to pace ourselves and like gain some perspective, right? There's something so beautiful about getting lost in tarot. The Fool card is a very blissfully unaware and happy person who looks like they're about to step off of a cliff. Is peril ahead? We don't know. But that's kind of the beauty of beginnings, is we don't know. You just start. And getting lost is an opportunity I found. Anytime where I've gotten lost, anytime where I've had to experiment, anytime where I've had to make a change that might feel icky or uncomfortable, and there's time that I'm spending, I will find that I often try to avoid the time getting to that point where it's like I just have to try, right? Let's use an example. I used to love swimming, but I was very much chubby preteen teenager, and body dysmorphia and things like that. But body shame and all of that made me like never want to go to the pool again, even though I really love swimming. And so one of the things I promised myself as an adult was like, man, F all that noise. I like swimming. I want to get back out there. The time it took for me to get to the point of just being like, hey, just get to the pool. Take a class, whatever, but just get to the pool. The time it took to get to that point versus the time it took being lost was a lot bigger. It took me some years. And of course, the year I decided to learn how to swim again was 2020. It was February 2020, baby. What a time. But that's neither here nor there. We spend a lot more time in what I call the spin before we get to the start, where we're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly, one of the things that I'm looking at right now is getting back into creative expressions that I've always really loved: singing, acting. And so I did a summer drama program when I was like a long time ago, when I was in high school. And the person who taught it teaches locally, like drama locally. And I found their email and I emailed them. I was like, do you know what class I'm going to take to get back into it? And it was like a 2-sentence response that gave me the like, okay, I need to chill. Because he was like, you know what? It's been a while. Have you tried Google? It wasn't rude. It wasn't meant to be rude, but it really snapped me out of my like, that spin of like, oh my God, of like, hey, there are classes here at this playhouse. There are classes that you could take at local community colleges. Like, there are opportunities here. There are classes at this other theater. There are means. Just start. Just let yourself get lost. And I say all of that context to say, like, getting lost, you spend less time being lost than you spend being unwilling to surrender and forfeit control. I'm going to repeat that. You spend less time being lost than you spend being unwilling to surrender and try and stay in that sense of control, even though you don't have it, right? Big life transitions where you've got to either like change your career or something, we often avoid because we like the control and certainty of being where we are, even if it friggin' sucks, even if we hate it, we'll still stay because we don't want to get lost. We'll choose paths that are prescriptive. Think of like paved trails. That's a lot easier than getting in that wilderness, baby. And that's not judgment. That's my preference, is to get on the paved trail. But in this metaphor, sometimes maybe there's a calling or a thing that you have that you really desperately want to do. Singing, dancing, something creative, something that feels perhaps uncertain. Something that requires you to brave the wild, to get lost. But you don't want to do that because you want to hold on to the certainty. You want to hold on to the control. You want to hold on to that. I might be miserable, but I'm choosing to be miserable. I'm in control of my misery. And again, does that make you feel better? Does it really make you feel better? No. So get lost. Allow yourself to get lost. Allow yourself to experiment. Allow yourself to try something new and not be good at it. And not even go in trying to be good at it. When I finally was like, okay, I'm going to take a swimming class, an adult swimming class at the Y. I got all the things I needed to take said class. And the biggest, most daunting part was simply not even driving to the pool, but from getting out of the car to inside of the pool. It was hard because I was going up against like all these like preconceived notions about my body, all this like trauma stuff around like how I was going to be perceived, blah, blah, blah. I went in the locker room, got changed, walked out to the pool to our lane or wherever we were for classes. And you know what happened? Not a damn thing. Nobody said anything to me. Nobody was like, fatty. Like all those huge fears that I had didn't end up happening. And then I was in the water. And the moment you're in the water, the moment you allow yourself to get lost, the moment you allow yourself to lean in, per that like Fool card, you realize that all the fears that you had that kept you from being lost were, I don't want to say unfounded, especially if they come from a place of trauma, but they weren't worth it. Being in the water feels amazing. Feels great. I love swimming. Backstroke on a Sunday, oof, healing. But I never would have gotten to that point if I didn't get out of that car, walk inside those doors and decide I'm going to get in the water. I'm going to get lost. Where in your life right now are you refusing to get lost? Are you miserable in a relationship you don't really want to be in, but you don't want to brave the wild of being single? And look, I'm not trying to mess up your situation. I'm not trying to tell you to like just believe and everything will be okay. Like there might be real like financial reasons why you're still with a person, or there's still like love or whatever. There's still like love. That makes it sound so flippant, which is not what I intended. But you may have like very real reasons for why you're in the situation that you're in, right? But at what point, the thing that you desire requires you to get lost, at what point are you going to allow yourself to get lost? Are you going to put that off for another 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Because you can if you want to. You've sustained and endured this level of misery for so long. But like, when you get lost, you're not there for very long. You know what I mean? When my mom would drive around on these different streets, it would be confusing for a little bit, maybe like a day, maybe like an hour. But eventually we would find our way to either like a feeder road or a road that would lead us back to a major highway or something. Well, we would find our way back. We just needed to take that time to get lost. So where are you not doing that? Where are you not doing that? And again, the time you spend being lost is so much smaller than the time you take kind of like worrying about being lost. I promise you. Where are you spending right now? And for what? What is it underneath that you're really afraid of? I had this, I don't want to call it a thought experiment, but I do this thing with one of my friends where like kind of these like mental scenarios. Like one year, I think 2023 was like, what if this is hell? Which was, we spent like a year talking about that. It was lovely. But this one was like, if you're dropped in the middle of the woods and you don't have a cell phone, you don't have anything, just you, and you are your navigation system. Sure, you'd probably spend a measure of time panicking, right? But at what point do you start to get lost? Do you start to recognize, okay, this tree is here and that tree is there? Do you go in this direction for 50 paces and say like, I recognize these things, I'm orienting myself is what I'm trying to say. At what point do you decide, hey, if I'm my only way out, I'm going to at least try my best to orient myself to get the hell out of here. You won't, and if you were to do that day in and day out, eventually those woods wouldn't be lost to you. You wouldn't be confused about where you are. You would know precisely where you are. That metaphor might be hanky, but I hope you understand what I'm saying is that like being lost is a very temporary state. And you don't have to be afraid of it. It can be uncomfortable. It can be unnerving, but those things are also temporary. And if they're on the way to what you want and where you want to be, you're going to have to get lost anyways. So why not today? Why not spend some intentional time figuring out where you want to get lost and how you want to get lost? Maybe there's a new hobby you want to try. There's a social club that you want to go to. There's a form of study that you want to take. There's a martial art that you want to learn. Maybe you want to date again. Like, what are those things that you want to do? What are those ways, like those things that will lead you to that feeling of like, I'm on my path. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel aligned. I feel like joy back in my life, right? What are those things? And what is the first step to getting lost? Because when you get lost, like I said, it's temporary. You're going to find things that you didn't know that you liked around you. You're going to see new places, meet new people. It's going to shift. It's going to aid like that speed bump in shifting and changing your perspective. So what are you waiting for, love? Go get lost.